Hello YouTube, how's it going? And today I wanted to make a video that I mentioned in the stream about going over the brand new Tempest Phasmophobia version 8.0 update and pretty much my thoughts on it and everything. I know that the update came out yesterday and a lot of the bigger content creators were going over as well as the gameplay as well. But I wanted to hold back on it in case if they made any changes to anything. So these are the brand new changes, or at least the patch notes for the update. Whether if they stay the same or changed, I have no idea. So I am just going to read them and honestly give my thoughts. I would think a lot of them, or probably all of them, to be honest, stayed the same. But worst case, we're just going to go through. I'm going to give all my thoughts and my opinions. And then also as well, I'm going to be streaming later tonight. Yeah, the new update. Well, I'm pretty much recording this before that, so you'll see this a little bit late. Um, but yeah, I will be live doing this whole entire challenge, and I'll put up probably a video of me doing like the whole entire thing, which will probably be like a good like 2 hours or something. So it'll probably be like the longest video I've ever made, which you could see as just like a walkthrough, basically, to doing the challenge and me just going it. But uh, we're gonna move on to the updates. So we're just gonna read this through. Welcome back. I've got an update for you. With all of the recent paranormal interference, the weather around certain locations has become more hazardous and intense. Ghosts have been haunting locations longer and longer each night, with some disappearing just before the sun comes up. Will you brave these conditions? With this update comes a host of small features, improvements, and options. Additionally, there will also be another large update in the near future. That's nice, of 8.1, to add more features and surprises. Be interesting to see what happens there. So, holiday 2022. From now until early January, you could take part in the Phasmophobia 2022 holiday event, or basically just the Christmas event. Earn yourself a unique holiday trophy for your collection, as well as an exclusive holiday 2022 ID card and badge. I'm actually really excited for this, which is nice because, as far as I know, like only the developers or content creators or moderators have like their own unique badge. As far as the rest of the community, they don't really have anything. So it will be nice to have this brand new ID badge that we can show off to people, especially before or in the coming time when the next update comes around, which when all of our stuff gets reset, they have the prestige ranks and all that. So, which I'll definitely be playing a lot of. I mean, I already play a lot anyways, but I'll definitely be playing more of and whatnot, just to get to get higher prestige ranks and like a higher ID badge to show that off. That'll be really nice. All right, so reward changes, custom difficulty. With the addition to custom difficulty, we've seen so many exciting, unique, and challenging games to be created. But we'd like to redirect what the purpose of custom games is, and there are several reasons why. So the first is we would like custom difficulty to be primarily used for fun and interesting games with unique twists, similar to other games with a quote custom games mode, without the worry of how much you're getting out of it. It's very difficult to balance each option's rewards to have a corresponding and fair reward multiplier. Because of this, it's incredibly quick to create games that are potentially much easier or faster than their default counterparts, but give the same or more rewards, which makes the default modes redundant. I do agree with this. There have been a lot of like 11x, 12, 13x like difficulties, even higher, almost some even above 15, where I just found they were like 1,000 times easier than nightmare mode, which I feel like shouldn't be the case, especially since nightmare mode is like 4x difficulty. It's surprising how something that's like 3x the difficulty reward is like probably like at that level of like, which is like less than nightmare. It's like really weird how that existed. So I definitely agree when it comes to the fact that some of the balancing wasn't really right. But let's read on. With our analytics and player base, we can see that a large majority of players still play intermediate and professional. I actually find that kind of surprising. Maybe that's just coming from me, who always would play like Nightmare a lot. But then again, I'm over here playing like freaking. I'm over here doing like one evidence runs uh with potentially doing zero evidence like at a common, especially solo as well. So I wouldn't be surprised when it comes to the fact that most people are playing intermediate and professional. I was in a game actually the other day where it was like I was in a public lobby, like I think it was like a good 1 to 2 weeks ago. Um and the group was doing nightmare mode, and surprisingly it seemed like almost none of them in the group actually could like determine some of the ghosts with their secondary evidence, meaning like their specific characteristic evidence that like usually have, such as like, like the wraith, where it didn't show the UV footprints, which I actually know has been changed, and I'll get to that soon. Or stuff like that, or like the Goryo dots, for example. What's other ones? Like the different like hunting speeds to even be more precise. Like they just knew none of it, right? So I was like really surprised like how they were gonna get this ghost. Because they didn't know any of that stuff, and that stuff's like necessary for Nightmare. So um but yeah. Uh so I'm sort of, I would think a little bit more people play Nightmare. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see that most people actually play intermediate and professional. Um So yeah, having a set reward per custom option makes them very fragile and limits what we can change for the default difficulties or any future difficulties we'd like to add to the game. Lastly, with the large upcoming changes with Progression 2.0, we'd like experience and money to be gained fairly for every player and try to avoid any cheesy reward tactics if we can. I do agree with this. Like I think, like I said, the absolute cheese that has been going on. Especially there was like I think there was also one where people were doing something. There was like some ridiculously high multiplier where you could just go on like Sunny Meadows and you didn't even need to like know the ghost. You just did like some of the small objectives and then like find the bone with the Ouija board, and you were just able to walk away with like thousands of like cash, like thousands of dollars and XP every game, and people could just grind that out for hours and just be super duper rich and super duper high in XP. So I think that's kind of, they definitely need to definitely needed something to fix that. All right, because of these reasons, we're making the following changes to custom difficulty rewards. Custom difficulty will now have an 80% reduction applied to the reward multiplier. I think this is overkill. Actually, when I first read this, I don't think I saw much of it because I was like, oh, okay, they're just reducing their rewards. Like, it makes sense. But like 80%, that's not 80% like you're getting 80%. That's 80% as in like you're only receiving 20%. For I think for standards wise, like I think a nightmare run, I think like a semi perfect like nightmare run with like maybe one or two photos that weren't like kind of meh, but all objectives on small maps. I think I got usually around like 250. So like do the math on that. I mean, I could just pull out my calculator right quick, and like you're getting $50, 50 instead of 250. That's insane. That's not a lot. That's like a massive reduction. A perfect game of night. Imagine if you're doing a perfect game of Nightmare on custom difficulty, like you're only getting 50 for a perfect game. That's actually ridiculous compared to the 250. And mind you, that's like you get the ghost, all the objectives, the bone, and all the 3-star photos. So that's ridiculous. Um, and that just goes to show. And I'd say it sucks the most is because for people like me, where I know this is like a really small percentage, but there are some people like me, who don't just who in which Nightmare is just too easy. To be honest, it really it's not that hard, but it makes sense for someone like me who plays the game like 2 to 3 hours a day, or and even more on like weekends, like upwards to like 5, and has watched all these videos and knows about the game and has been playing it for a good chunk of time. Like I mean, yeah, it makes sense to where it becomes easier, but which in that case, if I wanted to make the game more challenging for myself, like that's why I do like one evidence runs and all that. But it sucks now because I can't get the XP and the cash, and that's the same for other people if they're trying to go for like a harder difficulty because just to make the game more challenging for them because of their level, or like basically the people who aren't actually cheesing it and are actually just wanting to make the game more difficult for themselves. It sucks now that we can't get the experience and the money anymore, you know? Like we're almost just like here to sit back now and just grind nightmares. So it's kind of meh, but I mean, the only thing it really does suck though. I think there was like a little bit better that they could done. Like I know some people were saying about how like they could reduce it based off like the multiplier size, so that because or like at some like multiplier percentage, like it only reduces it if it's like a certain amount and higher. Um, I think at one point, like Psycho was saying how like you could also compare it from investigation time in the house compared to the difficulty, because if anyone's playing like a legit like 15x run, like you know, like they would be taking a longer time in Nightmare, like average wise compared to like normal. Whereas someone who's like cheesing it would just be in and out in like less than but like in like less than 5 minutes. So yeah, I don't know. I think they could have done something a little bit better or like scaled it. I think definitely scaling it would have been better. Or making it so it doesn't punish people who are like, you know, making ones over. Because like, yeah, I don't know, man. It really does suck, to be honest. But I don't know. Just that's what happens. People abuse it, then it's a shame because it ruins it for other people who were actually just using it in a good way. So it's sad now that we have it. But I think they did this for either one of two reasons. I think they could have done it because it's almost like a hot fix, right? You know how like games like come out with something and then they realize that like it's like too broken. You know, like if you ever played like a hero shooter, like Overwatch for something, or I don't know, like Clash Royale. Like you know, like they come out with something new and it turns out to be like ridiculously overpowered, right? So I think what happened was like people basically found exploits or whatever. So now I think is what they're hot fixing it, and I don't think this is gonna stay how it is. I think they're gonna change it. It's just they're hot fixing it for now. And my hope is that they revert a lot of the different I hope they like modify the different changes because I truly believe that like they can have this in the sense where with the difficulties, like you know how it was. I think they just needed to change some stuff. I think there were some things that like increased the multiplier that weren't really needed, like for example, I know like changing the evidence given didn't actually add much. Like a zero evidence run was like I think 7.5 on the like added it to a 7.5 multiplier. Like if you went from nightmare and you literally just got rid of all the evidences, it was only like 7.5, which is like totally ridiculous, like why it's that low, because like and it made sense why people were exploiting it because like it's like I was saying, right? Like people were like abusing like these like 13x difficulty runs that were just like still three evidence, and they were smashing through it. Like I was doing them too at one point because I was just playing public lobbies. Like I wasn't doing it on purpose, but I was just playing with other people to have fun. And they were doing these, and it was just like so easy, like easier than Nightmare. And it's ridiculous how that was like a 13 multiplier when a zero evidence run, something that like very few people attempt and even fewer people do on a regular basis just to have fun and play the game. Like it's insane how that was a less multiplier than that. So my hope is that like they did this as like a hot fix and they might change some stuff around that, or they might just come up with some my hope is they just come up with like a scaling system so that you know it just prevents people from abusing it. But my biggest hope is that they honestly I think custom games has the potential. I think they just need to honestly It's like I said, I'm not gonna say it anymore, but I think they just need to revert some things that actually change the modifier. You know, like the evidence they needed to make the modifier go way more up on. Some things like starting sanity wasn't really much. Sanity pill restoration could be changed more. Like, it's stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just giving ideas, but like some stuff needs to have not modified the modifier much, and some stuff, especially like the evidence, needed to have been bumped up way more because that actually makes the runs harder, right? Because like if you've ever played actually all the normal difficulties, like yes, like they're supposed to get harder every time, right? But there's like a massive gap, and I mean like a massive gap between professional and nightmare. Like we're talking like you need to now know like little things about the ghost to complete nightmare. Like there's a reason why it says the best of the best, right? And they don't put it there for nothing, right? Like you need to know things that aren't really given to you to distinguish the ghosts in nightmare compared to professional and lower. Like there's a massive gap. So yeah, I'm gonna move on from that. But I think my hope is I don't like the 80%. I think it's just a hot fix as of right now. And my hope is that they change it and that it gets better. Because I think custom difficulty is a great addition. And my hope is that they make it so that it is balanced and it is fair. And hopefully that people won't abuse it again. That's my hope for this. So let's see just what they say. So we know this is a huge change, but this should separate custom games into a challenge and fun mode, and keep the default difficulties as the main route for character progression. In the second part of this major update, coming soon, TM. I don't know what soon TM means, but I'm hoping that's around the corner. Probably less than a month. That would be nice. We'll be adding something special for those wanting a harder challenge than Nightmare and something super special. Ooh. So here's my thing, right? Because they mentioned a harder challenge than Nightmare and something super special. My prediction is they're gonna add a 1 evidence challenge and a 0 evidence challenge. I've already seen these updates, by the way. Like I've already seen these changes. Not the ones that were posted global, but I saw them on the other content creator videos that they all posted, the official ones, which hopefully maybe one day I get. That'd be amazing. Um, but I have quite a while till then. To be honest, but I do believe. So yeah, I did see the ghost changes, and they definitely are catering more toward the 0 evidence thing, which thank God. Um, so that's also what I'm thinking is that like with these new default harder difficulties than Nightmare, uh, I'm assuming like there's want to be one that's like horror or whatnot, which is going to be like a 1 evidence, and then they bump up more stuff, and then I think the fifth one, if they were to make 2 of them, would be like impossible, which would be like a 0 evidence run, which would be really sick. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. All right, investigation bonuses. To compensate for the above changes, we're adding some additional awards for playing well in the default difficulties, which will reward players who have the sharpest eye for ghost identification. We'll also be changing the rewards for secondary objectives to encourage players to complete the primary objective, which is finding the ghost, or figuring out the ghost, I should say, each game instead of ignoring it. So there's the added payments page, whatever. Investigation bonus. If you can identify the ghost correctly and escape alive, you will double the money and experience you earn for the primary and secondary objectives you complete during the contract. That's nice. That's really good. I think that's really good. That's better than what most people think, right? This doesn't seem like much, right? But what it actually means is it's rewarding people for learning how to survive, which, in my opinion, is the number one thing that you should learn in this game and how to get better. I understand though, there's not the tutorial isn't really the best. Like it just kind of covers over. It really just kind of covers over like the evidences and then sends you on your merry way. Like it doesn't really give much tips to how to really survive, or if it does, it's like very minute. Like it's just like the little slideshow on the screen. Um, so I think they should maybe work toward making a better like training thing per se, like one that actually would kind of, or even just like a video, even if it's like official Phasmophobia, like a video on like basics of the game and includes something about survival. I think that'd be great because like what I've seen from some players, especially like newer players, is they really don't know how to survive at all. Which makes sense, right? You know, like they don't know how to play the game, but there's not really anything also to like teach them how to. Like the best way is just like looking up other videos. So I would think like officially, I think there should at least be something that talks about how like there's hiding spots and all that. Because like I've seen the training mode thing, like there really isn't anything at all about it. I don't think. So yeah, I think they should just add that. Whether if that's like another slide or two in their little slideshow, or to be honest, they should just make like official videos, which would be really cool. And to be honest, just have that instead of the training thing. I mean the training thing's alright, but like yeah, I'm just gonna go with that. But I think that's actually nice. All right, and the next is perfect is wow, okay, is perfect investigation bonus. If you manage to complete the above, which are the all four objectives and survive, but additionally collect the bone and fill your journal with 3-star photos, which is actually a bit of a challenge. You will gain an additional sum of money and experience on top of the investigation bonus. So that's great for people with like higher skill at the game with perfect games and stuff. So that's really nice that you're getting more money. I don't know how much that is. I'll know when I play after this, which I'll be streaming on my Twitch, twitch.tv/IRTheGhost. Feel free to check it out. Shameful plug there. But anyways, secondary objectives have had their rewards reduced to make way for the investigation bonuses. So I actually know the numbers. So the primary is actually going to be changed to 20, and the secondaries are changed to 5. So I know that's like some people were saying how it was bad for newer players, and how like that they're struggling to survive and like all that. But I think to be honest, like I think it goes back to that nightmare scenario, right? I think some people are just playing harder difficulties when they honestly shouldn't be ready for that type of stuff. You know what I mean? And it's not something to be ashamed of, right? Like you have to understand if you're newer at the game or you're struggling, like you should just make the difficulty easier for yourself. And it's not that like, and I understand that like yes, it is harder, you'll die more, which then leads to you not having much money, right? But it's better to learn in all that important stuff and play in the beginner or the easier difficulties and learn from there. So then the transition to the harder stuff is not as bad, right? Or at least like when you do decide to finally step up the difficulty, you'll realize that like you won't be dying as much because you learned a lot from the beginner ones. Also, the beginner ones give you like insurance and whatnot, right? Which means like if you die, like they give you some of the money back. Um, and it was weird how like like newer players were like didn't have much money and they were dying more often. And it's probably because they were playing like professional or even playing nightmare, like when they shouldn't be. To be really honest, uh, like they just weren't ready for that challenge yet. That's like me trying to play like the 24x challenge or some like 20x difficulty on a daily basis, knowing that like I wasn't ready for it, and then I end up dying so much, right? It's kind of like that. Like you have to know your limits. Like there's a reason. Like as for me, my goal is to do zero evidence runs. However, if you know and you've been watching me live or even in my videos, I'm not doing zero evidence runs. I've done them before, but I'm not doing them all the time because I understand that I'm not at that skill level yet. So I'm building it up, right? I was doing Nightmare before, and then I was doing one evidence runs. And my plan is for this update to start doing zero evidence runs, but to be honest, I might not be ready for it, in which case I'll have to just do more one evidence runs. So then when I feel more comfortable, then I can go into the zero evidence. So it'll be stuff like that, Like I'm not saying you should like look, I'm not saying you should limit yourself, but understand like the skill level that you're at and work toward gradually getting to the skill level that you want to be. Like put in the time, put in the practice, and eventually you will get there. Like you will get there, trust me. I went from absolute being scared to shit playing this game, and now I'm doing solo one evidence runs on any map in this game. I'm amazed at my progress. But it didn't happen it's not going to happen overnight. It's probably not going to happen over the course of a couple weeks. It's going to take some time. It's going to take probably hours. And to be honest, it's also probably going to take some digging and research and watching videos, reading guides, and learning playing the game more. So then eventually you get to where you want to be. All right? It's not impossible. It's completely possible. But you do have to put in the work. All right, so that's enough with that. Now we'll move on to the ghost types. Best part, this whole thing. I agree with all of them but one, and you'll know which one it is. I had high hopes for it, but I think they kind of undercutted it. But I will say for the other ghosts, I think they did a great job. All right, so ghost types. With every update, we look into which ghosts need some love. We found that some ghosts needed some buffs and some needed changes to help with low evidence runs. Fuck yes, thank you. All ghosts. Hunting ghosts model flickers will now be synced across all players, which should also help hunt photo reliability. That's why I was trying to get, ever since the 24x thing, like I was so obsessed with trying to get the ghost photo during the hunt, or every time. Sorry, not during the hunt, but every time during investigation, I was always trying to get the ghost photo, and more like pushing myself to get it during like during a hunt if I needed to. And there were parts where like I could never get the ghost photo in. I like swore that like, and I kid to you, like I swore that I was taking the picture right on time, and it turned out it's because the ghost isn't even synced up. So what was happening is when I saw the ghost was visible and I was clicking the camera to get the picture, on the host side it was actually invisible. So I was really just taking a picture of nothing despite me seeing something. So that's great. I was just wasting stuff in the photo basically. Which I also stopped doing because there was no point in really getting it unless if it was during a ghost event, which I found out later that if you're just at low sanity and you just smudge the ghost, like it's bound to do a ghost event because it's so mad and wants to kill you. So then it just does the ghost event and then you just click, then you're good. So when hunting, ghosts now affect lights at the same range as equipment if on the same floor. Yeah, the different floors is still a thing. So for the Raiju, it's 15 meters and all ghosts is 10. I thought this was the case already. I guess it's not, which is really weird. But there you go. It's 10. Maybe it was like give or take, but now it's 10. So it's 10 for all ghosts, 6 for the Raiju, where it's 15. So good to know. Mind you, that's all on the same floor. It's a little different between floors. So Wraith. Wraith have now been adjusted to match their journal description better. Wraith will never step in a salt pile. That is going to make finding the Wraith a little bit harder. Not a lot harder, a little bit harder. Definitely harder in the sense that it's not like a dead giveaway anymore where it's like the photo or just the UV footprints. So you do actually have to like place the salt like correctly. You probably will need some motion sensors to see that the ghost actually crosses it and would have stepped in it. But it's definitely not impossible, right? Because you can have like what, 3 salt things plus they have 3 charges each, so it's like 9 different salt piles. Like you just scatter that shit throughout the room, and like any ghost would be bound to step. Like any ghost that's in the ghost room would at some point be like, unless if you're just placing it like in stupid spots, but like even like randomly throughout the floor, like the ghost is bound to step in it once in one of the piles. So yeah, like if it's not, it's a wraith. So there you go. Definitely not. It does make it a bit harder, but not impossible. And then an updated weakness. All right, Obake. Obake finally remembered how to shapeshift. Wow, that's impressive. Nice though. So I was talking to my friend Dragon, another content creator who I've been watching and I actually played with. Um, who yeah, so anyways, I was talking with him and we were discussing like the possible Obake and Goryo stuff. And I think this was actually one of our ideas. So it's kind of cool that it got like put in. I mean, we didn't tell anyone. We were just kind of discussing possible ideas at one point. So it's nice that that something similar to this got put in. So during a hunt, Obake have a 6.66. that number recognizable to anyone. It's the same for when you the basketball shots and the UV on the old map. That's the 666. But yeah, during the hunt, Obake have a 6.66 chance each time it flickers to shapeshift into a different ghost form. They will then return back to their original form. So yeah, there's that. And this is guaranteed to happen at least once per hunt, so keep your eyes peeled. So you could definitely miss it. I would do like a couple hunts and just test it, but just to make sure that you're actually getting it or not getting it. But I'd say, I mean, I have yet to test this, but from what I watched, I think on Psycho's like one video, um, yeah, it does tend to happen. I would say even more than once per hunt. As long as you're looping it for a good time, which you just have with the smudge, you just gotta make sure that you're watching the ghost carefully, and then bam, like you'll see it like flick for like that one different form, um, and then yeah, it's Obake. So that's nice. We finally have a secondary evidence for Obake. So Goryo Obake is completely done. Thank goodness. And you can see there's actually Goryo changes too. But now the Revenant, the legendary Revenant, has been left behind in the ranks of the normal threatening ghosts. 100% true. That thing sucks. So we're finally returning some former glory. What the heck? Some former glory to the speed beast and adjusting how this ghost hunts, hopefully placing them back on the podium. I've seen some clips from from like Psycho as well as like InSim on this. This thing is definitely stronger. I don't think it's as strong as what some people are believing to say. But like I think if you play careful around this ghost, and to be honest with like any ghost, like I would say they're like not really challenging. That's not true for some. Some are like very like this is just avoidable. Like the fact that as long as you're like not in line of sight of Revenant and you always have your electronics off, this thing is slow as hell. Like it's never gonna catch you, right? But like the moment when you try to do like however, I think it's like gonna be the most punishing ghost of all of them because like the second like that like you turn on your flashlight in range or it sees you for that split second, that's when the speed's gonna kick in and it's gonna absolutely just roll you. And you'll see what I mean. So instead of slowing down instantly, like how it did before after losing line of sight, the Revenant will keep their increased speed until reaching your last known position. So like yeah, like if you slip up and the Revenant sees you, it's not just gonna like speed up and then slow down instantly anymore. It's gonna speed demon haul ass toward like your last position. In which that case it'll probably see where you are then. So it's just gonna homing beacon you down. It's just gonna homing missile you down basically. Shouldn't say beacon. That's not what beacons don't do that. Missiles will do that. It's just gonna homing missile you down. So that's very careful. It will also do this with the light when you have your flashlight or you're holding equipment too, even if it's not seeing you. So like, so for example, like I think the hearing range for ghosts is like 9. It's like I think for most ghosts the hearing range is like 7 meters. So it's like a good couple meters in from the flickering. But yeah, if the ghost hears you or it senses you using equipment or equipment on in your hand within that hearing range for the Revenant, which for that and all normal ghosts is 7 meters. Even if it's not seeing you, that it's gonna homing beacon toward your location. Um, so yeah, that also works too. And it is not a bug, by the way. Um, I know I was watching Psycho stream and like I think some people thought it was a bug. That is not a bug. That is completely intended. So yeah, make sure you have your shit off and that it doesn't see you. And to add on to that, not only will they not slow down to your last location, but their speed will now decrease gradually over 2.7 seconds. But which is or 0.75 meters per second instead of instantly. So not only will it homing beacon to your last known spot, but it will also take a little while to slow down. So it won't like drop dead instantly. Like it's gonna like it will like a bit over time slow down in speed. So it's definitely a lot more punishing than before. So like like any like large hallways, big rooms, like places on like Grafton or like high school are going to be like way more dangerous compared to before, where you could just flick that like one door open and then like now you're fine. Like now it's just like any open map is going to be like way more dangerous with this ghost. Like it's really just going to homing beacon you more down, so you have to be like way more way more safe. You basically just to play like way more safe than what you were used to. I wouldn't say this puts it at like the S tier top like super duper. I wouldn't say this puts it as the most dangerous ghost in the game, but it's definitely gonna put it in the top 5. I think it definitely puts it up there. It's not like some C B tier anymore. It is definitely an A tier. I think. I think it's a really strong ghost, especially for newer players, and the fact that it's a very punishing ghost. I mean, I won't really know how difficult it is until I go up against it, but on paper wise, I'd say it's really strong. It's very punishing, and if you don't play around it, then you better be ready for it. All right. Next, we have Goryo. I'm gonna try and speed this up because it's already 35 minutes in, and I didn't even get that much through. To be honest, I probably won't read like some of the stuff like way down here. I won't read like the fixes. Actually, I didn't realize because I'm reading this on Steam. We're actually halfway through, but I probably won't read some of the bug fixes unless they're like funny or whatever. I mean, you could just read that in your own time. I'm only here for like the major stuff. So Goryo. As Goryo have a history of disobeying the roaming changes, yeah, no kidding. I've seen Goryo's fucking playing around the whole entire house and running everywhere like a little child. But yeah, as Goryos have a history of disobeying their roaming changes, we finally put an end to the over-exploring ghost. Thank you. Goryos can no longer change their favorite room or roam long distances. Thank you. Thank you. I think it's definitely from a zero evidence perspective, it's obviously not like optimal or perfect when it comes to Obake. It cuz like versus Obake where it's not like something where like when you it's not like a clear identifier where in the sense of like if you see it then like you'll know what it is instantly. It's more of a or if you like test it like you know like 2 times or maybe even 3 like you can like rule it out. It's going to be one of those things. It's going to be like a mare in a sense where like any ghost could technically stay in its favorite room and not roam long distances. But like if it does do like that little thing every now and then, which in this case would be like changing rooms or like for example like for the mare it would be like flicking on a light, then that's like stuff where you can just rule it out. As far as like actually figuring out the ghost, kind of like the mare, it's going to be very sucky. You're just going to have to rely on like it's basically just the no roaming, basically just the no roaming long distances, and just knowing that it's just not gonna that's not gonna change his favorite room. You're just gonna have to bank on that. Which in some games, like people have had investigations that have been like an hour long, and the ghost never changes rooms. Like it's especially on like Nightmare with like the Nightmare roaming for no evidence. Like that's very unlikely, but it is possible. So it's definitely gonna be harder, especially when it comes to the ghost that's 2 below it. Which, Jesus, they needed to do some bigger stuff to that. That's just abysmal. Um, but yeah, I think it's nice though. I think a lot of people were saying that this was a thing. I think I even mentioned like this would be a possibility of it just not changing his favorite room. And to be honest, I'm fine with it. I think it's all right. It's Goryo's always been a very sneaky one, anyways. In the sense of like with the dots, it's always been very sneaky. For like figuring it out. Kind of like a mare. I don't want to say sneaky is like shade because everyone like you could tell if it's a shade for the most time. It'll just do like fuck all nothing even though it's been like 30 minutes in. Like it'll just straight up do nothing because you're in the room. But it's more like a mare in the sense of like it's sneaky where you just can't really tell what it is at sometimes. It's just you just really have to go off like all of its characteristics just to finally figure out that oh like it's a mare. It's gonna be like that, right? That's really just what it is gonna be the Goryo. It's just a really sneaky ghost. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now Hantu. Hantu's secret ability visuals have been adjusted. Hantu Cold Breath will now play in any room during hunts if the breaker is off. So that's actually nice, to be honest. And I was gonna say I know the other change, but the Hantu Cold Breath visuals have been improved. So I saw this in Psycho's video. It is definitely way more visible to compare to the older Hantu, breath, which I think Shui, one of the Phasmo moderators, made like a little video, which like I couldn't even see it until I like put it in like 0.25 speed, and then like I saw that minute little dust particle or like cold breath particle that it made, which was like literally unnoticeable at like full speed. So it's nice how like it's actually like very visible now. To be honest though, like it's kind of redundant. Like it'll be cool to see, but like it's gonna be kind of redundant because like most people were already like determining the Hantu based off its like very based off its like very identifiable like the ghost speed changes and how fast and slow it is in the cold and the warmer areas. So which will still be the case, but it's just also nice that you have that little visual. But to be honest, they really should have given it to something like, or something more interesting, or something to like the Ghost Below, the damn Yurei, in which Yurei can no longer use their ability when there are no doors in its current room. That doesn't do anything. It's literally, it's not a good change at all. It isn't. It's not. It seems like a good idea, right, on paper, because it's like, oh, it does the ability with the doors, right? So if we just make it so it doesn't do it when there's no doors, everything works out, right? No, it really doesn't. It doesn't work out at all. In fact, it just makes it even more harder to identify. Um, so, and already, in the sense of like the Yurei not really doing abilities, like it has sometimes like a norm, like a very like very often actually, like you'll have games in which the Yurei doesn't really do its ability at all, and I'm not talking like those 10-15 minute investigations you just bang out like really quick. I'm talking about like the 40 plus investigations, like where you're in the house like a long time and it still doesn't do its ability. Like this is just only going to make that worse, right? This is only going to make that happen more often. And like the weakness is still unreliable. Like the freaking smudging it in the same room, like it's just so unreliable. It's hard to test most of the time. It didn't work for the longest time. There's still not even viable ways to make sure if it works. Like it's probably one of the worst things ever, to be honest. It just needs to be changed. It really does. I think we just need a new weakness. We need something that's just like out there for the Yurei. And I don't even care if it's like a mare where it's like sort of unnoticeable. Except I think people would probably more prefer it like Obake where there's actually some indicator. I know there's like an audio cue, like a double like door touch audio that you can kind of hear. Um in which people were using that, and myself included, when it comes to Yureis. But even then, like it doesn't do it often. Like I think there's two ways you can go when it comes to the Yurei. We either need, in my opinion, I think they should just do this just because it would make the ghost way more difficult. It would just not only would it make it more identifiable, but it would make the ghost way harder. Like it would put it up, like you could put it up to like demon difficulty if they wanted, which would be really sick. I would actually be really, it'd be really fun if they did that. Where if they basically if they just made the Ure drain sanity, like if they made it happen like more often, to the point where I know like I've seen like Ures where they drain like so much like within a short time, and it almost seems like a demon is hunting you, right? Like we probably don't need that every game, but we shouldn't also be having every game or most games where it doesn't do it like at all, or maybe like once. In which, by the way, the Yuri's ability isn't actually the door slam, which indicates the sanity drain. It can straight up do the sanity drain without a door. I mean, now it probably is gonna like slam a door or touch it, but even then, like it's not like it doesn't slam a door every time it does it. Or touch a door when it does that. Like it could just straight up sanity drain without doing anything with no indicators. So like I think there needs to either be, to be honest, I think the ability just needs to happen a lot more often. Like it should happen at least once, maybe twice or more um during like an investigation. Like over the course of definitely like 30 minutes, I would say it needs to happen at least like twice. It would just make the ghost stronger. It'd make it more identifiable. So that's one option, and probably make it so that every time it does it, it like touches a door. I mean, fuck, not even touch a door. Just have it give off like an EMF 2 or something. That could be like detectable, right? Because it doesn't even do that. Like, it just needs some other more clear identifier, and probably needs to happen more often. Because then I think it would make the not only would it would just make the ghost a lot more fun and interesting to deal with. Or the other idea is changing the weakness entirely. I think there's a couple ways you could go for it. I think Dragon mentioned to me how like they could have it like a wandering ability, like a he said how like if you smudge the ghost for like 90 seconds, it will, even if it's like basic, or if they like smudge it during a hunt, like once the hunt's over, during that 90-second like smudge time, the ghost will just like be attracted to whoever smudged it, which would be very easy to figure out, by the way. Or which would be like really easy to code, I would think, or whatever, for pinpointing that target. And it would just like stick to them like glue. Like just like a hyper insane banshee or wraith or phantom. It would just basically be on top of them, and it would just stay there. And I think it would just make it like so fun and interesting. I think that that's a really good idea. Just having like another like wandering ability, but have it like secret, you know. And it would also play with a lot of people as well. Like you could even like increase like ghost events during that time, because like the URA is known for the sanity, right, and the draining of like the player and whatnot. So it'd be like really cool if like it still kind of kept its hidden identifier through like the smudging, but instead of just keeping it in its like room, which is just boring and no one's gonna ever use that to figure out the ghost, if it had it like where it just hyperactive, like was on top of whoever smudged it, and like upped like ghost events or something, to where it's just like jump scaring people, I think that would make it like so much more fun. The other idea, I think, if they want to go with the idea of like smudging it, like limits it, I think they should just limit it entirely. I think it just shouldn't do anything. Where like if you smudge it, the ghost like doesn't move. It doesn't throw things. It doesn't ghost event. It just nothing happens. It's like as if like no ghost is there. It becomes like the ultra shade for a solid 90 seconds. It just does fuck nothing. I think that's the other way that they could do it, because like that would also be like a way to figure out where like if the ghost, to find out if it would be like a Yuri. Like it would be good for identifying, and it'd be, I mean, it's not like the fun route. It's not really like a fun route, but it'd be like so interesting where you just smudge it and then it's like peace for 90 seconds. No nothing. You know? Because like, like Yuri, once again, the description, it's all about like the sanity of players, hence the drains that it's supposed to do, quote supposed to do. Um so, and it would just be nice if you just smudge it, then all goes peace for like 90 seconds. So yeah, I think like a combination of like that, and I think a definite is that like the ability should happen more often. I think the ability should definitely happen more often. And maybe having something really cool like what like Dragon was talking to me about it hyper wandering to the smudge target would be really cool as well. Any idea? I mean, I think I heard from like Insim once, like when he talked about these updates. Like I think they said that. I mean, he also said something about how like the developers had things in planned, um, and that how he thought it was like stupid how they didn't just like add something for now. And I agree. Like this is terrible. Like they just, please, like when 1.8 comes around, or hell, like if you hotfix it, like just please add something to the URA. It needs to be more interesting. As of right now, it is just the most generic garbage ghost ever. It's basically the standard ghost, which was what the spirit was supposed to be. But even then, the spirit has like its own little weakness. But yeah, like URA is like at this point just as standard gets, and it just makes it even more that because of this change, and it's just boring. Like it, it could be like basically nigh impossible to identify it. You would literally just have to get like I don't know, man. Like they need to figure it out. We need more. We need something. There just needs to be some changes to that. All right, I'm gonna try and wrap this up. We're already reaching like the 50-minute mark, so All right, let's just get through this. All right, new. So the Unity rendering. To be honest, I'm probably just gonna skip through some of this because I've seen it before. So yeah, they fixed the Unity rendering and pipeline. Amazing plus to them. I actually loaded in the game and I was about to start streaming before I decided to make this video, and wow, it looks beautiful. Like, I'm not kidding. It is way more vibrant. It's so beautiful looking. Absolutely amazing. Props to the whole entire team on that, because I'm sure that took a lot of time to do. And not only that, like, my PC was running way better as well. Like on certain cases, like I think like Ridgeview or like Sunny Meadows, for example, like was very lagging the truck. So not only is everything like better looking now, like is even more cleaner looking, but it's also run smoothly. So huge props to them. Fog has returned. Bam. I actually wasn't around the time when Fog was in the game. I think I joined like I joined it like the in like February, I think 2022. So I think that was when they around when like Fog wasn't in the game. So interesting to see it back, especially nice with the, and of course I would think they would bring it back with the new Unity rendering pipeline that they just put in. So yeah, fog will be new stuff. Blah blah blah. You'll see it. Sunrise weather has been added. That's cool. I actually saw that in like I think it was Psycho Stream. It actually looked really cool, or maybe Insim. I don't know. It was like one of the two. Um, it's always one of the two. But yeah, I saw it was actually like a really beautiful sunrise, and yeah, you're just ghost hunting there. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, there's some more specifics with the temperature location. Actually, this is cool. They'll start with temperatures of 10 to 18. So on like sunrise, like you could go in with a temp gun and kind of I would think like the old Phas, like the super old one, like where you could just like start immediately temp gunning, like even without the breaker on, and you could just find the ghost room because the ghost room is usually like five. It's usually like 0 to 5 degrees around. That's like 5 degrees is like my cut limit to the point where if I see five or under, like it's definitely the ghost room. Um, Obviously it varies. Like if it's like snowing, it's not going to be like that. But especially for like sunrise, like yeah, you could just go in with the temp gun and instantly go and find the ghost. So that's cool. Weather effects have also been completely recreated from the ground up. Rain and snow have been received. Large performance increases and improved visuals. I haven't seen this yet, but I'm sure it looks sick. I'm sure it does. I'm not going to deny it. New graphics options have also been added. The skylight, all this stuff. Feel free to read it. Um, you can now I actually like this change. You can now place crucifixes. Wait, well, no shit, we could already place crucifixes. But yeah. Oh, you know what? I think it means place crucifixes as use like the F key, kind of like how like when you place candles, like not dropping them, you can actually place them. And when placing the crucifix, you can now see the range of its effect on the environment. That's actually nice. I think that's great, especially for like beginners or for newer players. But it's also nice as well for more experienced players, like like where we would place crucifixes in like bad locations to test like demons or whatnot. Like now, like it'll be cool because not only can we get more optimal placements, but like when it comes to demon, like we could just place the crucifix and then kind of have that little circle in our mind. So then when we know if the ghost hunts, if the ghost is hunting just outside that circle, then we can cross off demon. Or we can kind of draw an invisible 5 meters on top of it, or like an invisible, or we can add like an invisible 2 meters as well. And if we see that the ghost is eating it, then we could say that it's possibly a demon. So yeah, very nice. Also post effects. All right, cool. You swap to a new PC. Oh yeah, cool. Cloud personal backup. Nice. All right, changes. Smudge sticks, burn effects have been improved. Haunted mirror effects improved glow sticks model. Pretty much just I would just think improved models across the board. Resetting save file. Will now wipe your cloud beta backup. What the heck? Their reset button didn't actually reset. That's funny. Improve performance on campsite maps. Nice, because I know a lot of people would. I think a lot of people also avoided this because campsite maps are hands down the hardest maps in the entire game. But a lot of people are also avoiding them because of the performance issues. So hopefully that's been improved. It's not an issue for me, so I can't really relate. But I think with this, as well as of course the Unity rendering, it's going to make people who have like not as great computers, I think they'll have a way better time. Fingerprints have been moved on willow doors. Cool. Yeah, because there's like that one fingerprint spot in the yellow bedroom that's like on the opposite end on like the top corner. I don't even know. It's really weird. All players must now be further than 5 meters from the Ouija board for it to break. Okay. Yeah, because I think there's some people like trolling it. Ouija board will auto deactivate when walking outside the map. Wait, what? Okay, I guess people are trying to cheese it with hunts. Sanity pills no longer disappear when using them. Instead, they drop to the floor. I mean, yeah, it's alright. Improved candle wax effects. Cool. Small tent close will close now. Translucent. Okay. Improved 2 hiding spots on Sunny Meadows. Alright. Sure. Fixes. Average sanity objective will now complete at the same time. I actually had a case where it was complete for me and 2 others when someone it wasn't complete. I guess because for the board, like your actual sanity like goes up and down 2 by a percent of 2 of either way. So like for example, like like when you start a mission and your sanity says 100, sometimes it'll like drop down to like 90. It'll drop down to like 98. That's because it has like a give or take of it displays like every once in a while displays like a give or take of 2 sanity, so that like you never really fully know what your sanity is. Well, I mean, if you're playing single player, you do, but like for like multiplayer, like you don't. Like it's always a give or take of 2, and I think this across like every player. Actually, no, that's not true. That's for your own sanity as well. My bad. But yeah, it's a give or take of 2 sanity for even your own sanity. Um, so I guess that wasn't working across. Like I guess that wasn't like synced. The same thing with the photos for the ghost, and I think that's what happened to people completing the average sanity objective, is because it would always go based off of it would go based off of what the it wouldn't go based off the actual sanity. It would go based off of whatever the displayed sanity was, which is why sometimes to get the 25 objective you don't actually need to be at 25. If it just fluctuates down or below 2 or below 25, then it will give you the objective. So yeah, bone will no longer spawn inside other objects. Thank you. Hopefully it won't anymore. Bone's been kind of meh recently. So they've been hiding it behind doors too. Like Jesus, like come on, dude. The bone's already like a small and hard object, not hard to find object. I don't know what that was. Hard to find object. So like, I mean, yeah, thank God. Tripods will no longer count as electronic equipment after removing the camera. Thanks. Willow windows are now the correct way. Good. Weekly challenge timers not reset. Cool. Complete daily challenges. Yeah, whatever. Can no longer scroll to another item while placing something. That's interesting. The ghost room will now show on the board of the truck in the training. I mean, yeah, that's probably a good thing. I mean, I've never touched the training ever since the old update, so I guess they must have like removed it. Deogen Spirit Box reply will now work if you're not crouched. Is that why I could never get it? I understand you had to be within like 1 meter and it was 33%, but like that's stupid. So there were probably times in the past where I actually could have gotten it, but because like it was bugged, I guess, for so long, then well, thank God, maybe I'll actually be able to hear it now. Uh, let's see. The morgue door VR grab point is now in the correct position. Hitting crouch, then yeah, whatever. The ghost repel stat will now count if you're not the host. Let's see other ones. Sunny Meadows, the female hallway light switch. Okay. Wait, the female light switch. The female hallway light switch will no longer toggle the utility room's light. All right, that's probably good. I guess a little rewiring fixing behind the scenes. Journal on off buttons much clearer to understand. EULA acceptance button will no longer be clickable until you scroll down. Good. Objects move stat will now correctly count for poltergeist throws. Inventory no longer break. And yeah, that's it. VR depth's room spawn position is now correct. All right, nice. All right, well, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. This is wow, literally been an hour-long video. Didn't really mean to make it that long, and I doubt anyone's gonna probably wanna hear me talk for watch this thing for a whole hour about me just giving my opinions on this. But yeah, nonetheless, that's it. Probably could have tried to shorten it. But there we go. That is my personal opinions and a whole read through of the Phasmophobia Tempest 8.0 update. And with that, I'm actually gonna go live stream as of right now. I mean, you'll see this video later, so I will have already live streamed. But yeah, I'm gonna go stream. I'm going to do the Christmas challenge. So look forward to that video next. And I hope you guys all enjoyed. And if you want to see more, or if you, I mean, I was gonna say if you want to see more videos like this, but hopefully, maybe not. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, if you're interested in like the Phasmophobia content that I'm gonna put out, feel free to subscribe so you get updated about that. And heck, if you wanted to, if you actually liked this whole hour long of me reading and explaining and giving my thoughts, then I mean, yeah, feel free to hit the like button, and that's gonna be it. So thank you guys, if especially if you watched till the end. So thank you so much, and I will see you around.